tell, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect. Do it. All of that green together, the truth, yeah. Tell you the
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of, What If My Little Pony Meets BEN10? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. It was getting late in the plantation house, and in one of the bedrooms Pinkie Pie looked over to Rainbow and asked, "Rainbow, I can't sleep." Rainbow rolled her eyes. "Really, we can finally sleep without AJ's night farts and you are talking to me," she said, rolling over to face her adopted sister. "Fine, I'll bite, I'll regret it, but I'll bite." Pinkie Pie crossed her arms over the sheets and asked, "I keep thinking how those that pierce Guy wear cloths. You think his spikes would pop out and rip them to shreds while he puts them on or takes them off?" Rainbow rolled her eyes. "Knew it, I knew it. Who cares, he can wear them, that's all that matters, and in case you didn't notice, so too can Arjit, and he is the same spike-covered wise. So ask the dirty rat or the Pierce when they get here." Pinkie Pie then spoke up, "That is another thing. We are meeting a group of rookie red spots on a plantation house owned by our adopted great-grandpa the werewolf, while mommy is 2 months pregnant and we have to go back to Bellwood in a few weeks where we need to wear those ID masks." The blue mare rolled her eyes and rolled over, not facing her, and asked, "And your point being?" Pinkie Pie sat up. "We can't be us. We did a musical number about being ourselves and we can't be it now," she said, putting her arms up. Before she said, "I can't be a wild party pony because most of my dance moves will make the ID mask fall off. You can't fly around, let alone run weather. Rarity is just fine, I guess. Fluttershy can't tend to animals like she used to, as you can't keep a bear as a pet here. And Twilight can't work on magic like she used to." Rainbow blinked. She had a point, and she followed up with, "Okay then." "Okay then." No response to that. She then heard snoring and closed her own eyes. The next day Ben was standing in a spot in the massive backyard, his adopted sisters, along with Alan, Copper, Minnie, Helen and Pierce standing around him. Ben then hit his dial, becoming echo echo. As the helpers charged, Ben let out a sonic scream, making Helen fall over inches from him as he went ultimate and fired off his sonic disc, a sound wave to keep XLR8s down. Manny then charged before falling over as he said, "The part of us that focuses on balance is in the ears. Many someone large like you needs balance. One of my sonic disc is at the right wavelength just to keep you down." He then ducked to avoid a staff strike. Pierce had his ears covered and was using a spike staff only for a sonic disc to blast him away. Smart but not smart enough. Copper had his ears covered and held out a blaster to fire. It didn't hit Ben, but Ben still need to summon sonic disc to hold the tree about to crush him up till he walked off. Smart smart. A sonic disc then fired behind Copper, knocking him down. Alan was above the ground shooting fireballs, hoping he was out of range, only for Ben to move a disc above him and fire off a wave with held the fireball in place as he said, "We are in a bayou, man, have you never heard of swarm gas?" Alan then landed and turned out his fire as the flames in the disc went out and he bowed, "So sorry. I'll leave before I make us explode." Twilight was firing off magic shoots, but Ben made a sonic wall around him, blocking it as it turned into crystal, only for him to shatter it and sidestep a small magic blast form. Rarity, tag teaming smart smart. Above, Fluttershy was moving clouds as Rainbow dash flow around, drop kicking them, making them strike Ben with lighting, only for him to make more disc that let out a sonic wave, knocking them away, that can spark swamp gas just as easily as fire. "You too," is what all the discs said. Applejack was using her lasso to throw a rock, only for sound disc to blast it into sand. As Ben said, "Sound can be as soft as a pillow or harder than rocks," he said as he had disc spin around Applejack downward, sending out sonic waves, making the ground she stood on cave and putting her in mud. Pinkie Pie just pulled out her party cannon and fired, only for more sonic disc to hit the ammo, but as it was piece of paper it did nothing. Ultimate Echo Echo stopped as he picked up a piece of blue paper, and Pinkie's attack made contact with me. "You all passed thanks to Pinkie Pie," he said, timing out to return to normal. But a moment later formed the river behind Jessica hopped out as a mermaid and as her tail splashed halfway in the water, "Ben honey, we have a problem, oh good, the helps is here. All of you follow me." Alan blinked before turning to ask, "Was that a mermaid?" Ben then said, "And I am dating her, your point, half Mr. got turned half alien by the rooters. Thank you Kevin for handling them while I was away. I would have probably hurt them way worse." They all followed Jessica in boat, to the bayou where they passed through a mist into a forest where all the plants were black and it was a forest not a swamp. Alan pointed and asked, "Is that a pig man?" Copper, who was sitting by Twilight, said, "They are called orcs, and yes." The purple lady next to him was impressed by his mind, said, "Yes, it appears this is a hidden magical realm." Applejack grabbed Alan and said, "Us, I'm just seeing my dreams coming to life," they said as they came to an old castle. They got off as Jessica got out her outfit, returning to normal as her tail became legs, and she said, "Yeah, I know. But it's alien," she said, holding out a stone with writing, "Form the elements homeland on them, so we are good." Ben was already walking off. "Guys, I know how this works, we go to the castle always." Rainbow elbowed Pierce as she blushed, "Well, lead the way, big guy." Rarity lifted her southern belle dress up as she said, "I dressed for sniping, not a davnature, give me a moment." She made her horn and cloths shine, and in a moment she was in a new outfit. Black shorts so part of her cutie mark could be seen. Purple sports top, black boots and purple sleeve-like gloves, and she smiled. "I got the idea to make a spell for outfit changes, form this thing called anime." Pinkie Pie then held out a Japanese flag, "One of the best things about this world, right behind the internet and my little donkey." She then looked over her shoulder and blinked. They all head off, Manny holding his blasters. As they looked around, it was dark here. Alan turned into his alien form with triggered Applejack to hold her slightly cold hands around him, making him blush. His flames lit the area as they came to the castle, and Twilight read the name, Tamblin, the lost city of Tamblin. Fluttershy counted on her fingers, "So the evil wizard formed the story we all heard as little fillies is real. He escaped punishment by coming to Earth. This is his house. And we know his orc army is nothing but bones. But here is the last day we need. Is he gone or still in his castle? And why did you get us here, Jessica?" The mermaid then moved Alan, showing there was an empty tank with the bone of a mermaid in the front. "At least one of my kind was here. I have to know if I really am the only little mermaid left alive in the remains of Tamblin." Alan was lighting the way with AJ close by. Cooper had a flashlight with Twilight close by, and Rainbow was following behind Pierce. Ben rolled his eyes and muttered, "Ship tense, really." He turned to focus as he hit the dial to become Wrath, and soon went ultimate, becoming a white tiger as she slashed at a mobile skeleton. Manny fired his guns on them and said, "Nope, nope." Helen was running around using speed to whack them with her tail as she said, "Why, they aren't that strong." She then watched them pull themselves back together and she said, "Oh wait, I get it." Pierce was handing Rainbow a spike staff to use as he fired off spikes at them. Rainbow knocked one down with the staff happily as she said, "Just break the bones so they can't come back together, it's easy." Alan summoned flaming rocks, formed the ground of the castle and fired them, smashing the bone warriors. He smirked. Applejack was kicking them with her hooves, her natural super strength working her in breaking the bones. Twilight fired off magic blast at them, shattering them as she said, "Break bones. Why not?" Skeletons were reforming, formed the intact bones, but there was less of them now. As Ben slashed one spine apart, Cooper had his flashlight fire off an energy bullet, breaking a leg bone, making one fall over. "Making progress," he said as the thing became an energy saber for him to slash one in half. Again formed the still intact bones. They reformed, but there was fewer. Pinkie Pie pulled out two massive hammers and used them to smash a skull by banging it between them. "Go for the heads. They can't work if they don't have heads to lead the bones." In a moment a skeleton reformed using a spear hand as a head as it held its arms out, and she jumped, saying, "Never mind, I am wrong as SHT." Jessica was holding a small energy blade to slash a skeleton with a left sideways swing. Rarity had energy domes around her hands to smash bones with punches as she smiled, "Weaponized my barriers. I am growing so much." Fluttershy was ducking to avoid one swinging a wooden board filled with nails at her. But she opened her wings, hitting it, knocking it away where it hit a stone wall, and its ribs shattered, making its arms fall off. She smiled. I did it, she sounded happy. This continued till all that was left was a mass of bone limbs hooked together, moving like some kind of ball of tendrils towards them, which was soon crushed by Rarity, making a barrier above it and lowering it, crushing it into dust. Rarity smiled as she flipped her mane. I'll be a Tennyson lady in no time, pretty and dangerous, she said happily, walking ahead. As she said, we were exploring a creepy old castle that was once home to an evil wizard. Twilget then spoke up, hold up, the story mentioned Grogar was a necromancer. So undead miners are to be expected, and Holly SHT. She yelled, jumped. There on a throne was a human-like skeleton in a black robe with a goat skull head, wearing the bell, and she said, they're the magic draining bell that gave him power. The story says it was linked to a larger bell that stored the magic he stole, and if that bell should ring it would break form its own power, making the small one he carried useless. Alan held his hand out, his fire showing the remains of a large bell behind him as he said, it's here, and with human fingerprints belonging to a kid. A human kid came in here and rung the bell, ending him. I bet the Bigs came to try and kill he who enslaved him now that he was weak, and he took them down with him. And those skeletons are remains of an old security. That is when he got up and saw a bone hand grab him, and he jumped back, ripping the hand off, and it was still grabbing him. He screamed as he formed. He summoned stones on fire around his free hand and smashed the bone hand. Only for a new one to fly to the goat man's skeleton as it got up roaring. Ben timed out as he said, great, another lich, he said as he looked through the Utah matrix, my kingdom for a magic-proof transformation, he said before smashing it to become chromastone. Grogar opened his mouth, firing off a beam of dark energy. Everyone jumped away as the bones said, life, I will have it again, he said, holding his hand out to fire off red lighting at Ben, only for him to absorb the energy and fire it back at him, knocking the goat back. The goat then moved through it, that device, it holds great power, I most have it. Ben then hit the dial, becoming 4 arms before going ultimate as he swung with 3 lefts, hitting the goat, breaking bones only for new ones to come and replace them. It's all ways. Sad started, before happy continued, about the, and angry finished with, the watch. The goat held out its bell and said, useless in current state but not for long, he said as it fired a mist around, and when it cleared he was gone. But the red magic lighting outside made Ben and many smash the walls and head out. On top of the castle the goat was in the air, the bell fusing into its skull, making an eye, skin, muscle, flesh, ligaments, and fur appear in spots, clearly showing he was still undead. But that was Chanine, the left hand with was now skin with no mass, and the other one a hairless, skinless mass of muscle, waved as he said, magic and the bell give life back, return, grab the device. He said, making the bones of the orcs that were once his slaves raise and serve him once more. Manny was firing again as he said, okay, same as before, break the bones so there isn't enough to reform. Ben smashed most of a skeleton between his 6 fists as he hit the dial to return to normal before turning to Humixor, where he hit the dial and went ultimate, holding out his hands as they changed to shoot organic missiles, formed them, exploding, destroying the bones as he said, how about someone with magic fly up there and stop the goat? Twilget smiled as she flew up high and held out her hands, making them glow along with her horn, where she smiled as the 3 orbs connect with lines into a triangle, and she fired it off. It span around Grogar's bell before entering it and shattering it, making the undead thing drop truly dead. The magic realm around them faded back into the bayou, as she smiled, I did it. Later on at the plantation. The party they were having at a barn fire pretty much confirmed Rainbow and Pierce would start dating, as would Cooper and Twilight, and Alan and Applejack. Now Fluttershy had Discord, so Pinkie Pie put a hand on Rarity's shoulder, last single Tennyson women. A month later, when they were all home, Twilight turned on the TV to see a report about Ben's secret identity, and she removed her ID mask. Alien cat is out of the bag, don't need no ID mask anymore. The 6 former elements of Harmony were in the house looking at the news, jaw dropped. Carl walked in and said, what kind of evil thing would do this? Sandra, who was 3 months PRGN, and then yelled, get that media circus off my front yard. Ben was throwing on his jacket, no ID mask. Well, we can throw the ID mask away. He then walked out and looked through his aliens. Thank you future me for visiting me to give me unlocks, he then became Topic and he faced the cameras as the cage opened, making the cameras break and the reporters scream in horror, running away. He then timed out and Pinkie Pie walked out, touching his face before looking at him. Good, it's safe now, let's figure this out. Her mane and tail was flat, we can track the reveal video easy, then bash whoever it is in the head. She said, holding a bat with the word Skull Smasher written on it. Twilight was on a tablet saying, already done. Let's pick up Jessica and head the F out. Later on at night, Jessica was knocking on a door wearing her normal outfit plus Ben's jacket. As she got cold, a woman answered and saw the jacket. Oh, you must be one of Jimmy's friends. The redhead blinked her eyes as she said, don't tell me. They all came in and went up to a room to see Jimmy. Pinkie Pie then cried, I can't smash a kid's skull. The kid blinked in confusion as Fluttershy pointed at him and said, how could you do this? Jimmy then said, I just want Ben to get the fame he deserves. He sounded confused. Ben then said, if I want fame I wouldn't have bothered with secret identity. Now everyone knows my real name and face. Look at me, not only can my family no longer hid its alien nature, but now everyone I know and care about is a payback target for the supervillains. The kid blinked before looking down, but I thought. Rarity put a finger to his lip and said, no you didn't, our mom is PRGN and if anything happens to her or the baby that's on you. Since you're a kid we can't punish you, so you get away with it. Coagulations, you got away with the crime and hurting Ben and ruining his life. You are the greatest supervillain. Jimmy looked down sadly as they turned to leave. AJ then looked to a poster and said, it ain't Jeffrey, it's Jetray. Rainbow looked to the sad kid and sat down. Look kid, we all have hero worship back on our home planet. I want to join the Wonderbolts, the best flyers on my planet, to prove my skills, but they were a lot of jerks, a drill sergeant nasty and showboaters who need to get their heads out of the clouds in the bad way. My point is sometimes it's best to just look at something from afar, and think it's gold, then get up close and see it's just shiny dirt, she said, getting up trying to help the kid. Twilight crossed her arms and said, also why don't you tell the world Jessica here is a mermaid? Because she is. That's right, unicorn alien dating mermaid. At that point the army was outside waiting for them. A man in a black suit then said, normally we would demand you come with us, but the general knows who you are, so we are asking. Please. Ben got in the car and was soon taken to a meeting room with his sisters, his girlfriend, where they meet up with Gwen and Kevin. As they guys said, we were working on a spaceship. Kevin rolled his eyes, about time. I was embarrassed to tell half the people I know I was form heir. The man looked at Kevin before realizing Kevin had a million ways to kick his ass and moved on, but the problem is we could only figure out how to make a nuclear engine. Gwen Point got up and said, you dumbass. Again the man said nothing and continued, then an alien took it. Ben then looked at his aliens, look, it's nuclear, we can track it, and it seems like a classic misunderstanding. He probably just wants to go home and it was the only engine around, so he took it, not knowing how its energy is poison to the locals. Before long the Core 3 were in the lab as Ben's watch gave them away by scanning the alien, making the alien by Valvin turn as he heard scan complete. What the hell was that? Ben walked up as he pointed to his watch, DNA archive device, it scans DNA it hasn't before, sorry. But you speak the long, so this is easy, the engine's energy is poison to the locals. The alien held his shell as he said, yeah, really bad about that, but I have no way to get home other ways. Before Kevin spoke, a Gregor is chasing me. I have to run. Kevin then held his head as he said, you seem familiar. The alien then said, as a Gregor is a faulty copy of U11, that makes sense. Kevin jumped as he said, a Gregor spoke of it, a group called the Rooters who Ragnarok was part of, used your powers to give them powers, then you escaped and lost your memories of it, so they tried to make a clone to continue mutating humans into alien hybrids. Before Kevin could say a word, Ben was brainstorm looking in Kevin's mind, making him hold his head. Story checks out, even his dad is a fake memory. Kevin held his head and shook it off, we need to do that to the helpers, so what fake me has some kind of mental link to me, he asked. The alien then spoke up, he says he is sick of seeing a happy life of the original while he is dying form being faulty and needs to absorb the life force of others to continue living, so yes. And you're a red spot, I go to you for help. He will know where I am or how to find me even if it's vague. Gwen then held out her hand making Kevin glow with mana. It's not more like a clone, I can sense it now that I look hard enough, it's like they ripped away part of Kevin and he is trying to pull it back in. Ben then said, let's assume it's his worst parts, he said timing out. Kevin then said, then he can stay the hell away. Don't want them back. Wait, does this mean my mom isn't my mom? I can't trust any of my memories anymore, he said banging his head on a wall. The alien then said, then focus on the future or some SHT like that, but I need to take off without red spot help. So he doesn't know where I am through your eyes. And I don't have another engine and he is here so he knows where I am now and where I was going to take off form, so I need to move the ship anyway. Ben then held his chin, you know that could work out, the alien raised an eyebrow, how? Later on Kevin was tied up blindfolded ears covered while Ben was removing the mind link form the helpers as brainstorm. It's if your original idea of being experiment on was half true but it was humans not aliens the block most have shattered. Manny held his head, yeah that's a head rush dude. But what about the shellfish? Ben then said, Gwen warped him to a place where they did nuclear tests for takeoff and he took off. We claimed the engine was damaged and we launched it to stop it from exploding on Earth. Applejack yelled, lying saves the day, why is never, though would see the day. Alan then pointed to Kevin, so what about Kevin? Meanwhile Gregor was growling. He was at the last place Kevin saw the alien but he said, I can't sense him. What they did do lock Kevin up. Twilight was in the backyard using the garden hose to put out flames. Stupid sparks form teleportation spell. Use Kevin as the focus to send Ben and Gwen to Gregor while Kevin takes the freed helpers after the rooters in the null void, but a stupid little spark had to set the backyard on fire. Meanwhile in a ship. Ben was lodestar using his magnets to rip Gregor's spear away as Gwen blasted destroying it. Leaving the knockoff to kick Ben in the chest making him slide down and hit the dial to become heat blast. Yeah, you are Kevin's worst parts. Gregor growled, don't remind me, he said charging only for Gwen to hold her hands out making an energy dome around him to trap him. Moments later the evil clone of her boyfriend touched it. It took him a minute but he absorbed the energy dome freeing himself. Ben then threw a fireball as he said, I don't think you thought that one through Gwen. Wait a moment, I'm SCK an idea. The scannet opened when we got here so, he hit a dial becoming NRG and firing off a blast at the copy. It did nothing. B then went form water hazard, to amphibian to armadillo, ending on Terra spin. I have the powers you're looking for, come get them. He then span around flying past making the clone jump chasing Ben in a mad chase as he said, when you stay here you got nothing that won't recharge him. Gwen crossed her arms and looked offended, and what's your plan? Before long Gregor jumped to land on Terra spin and Ben flipped over making him touch the dial, be careful what you wish for. Gregor was then knocked back by shock. For a moment he was in his ultimate form, the power he wanted, but soon he screamed as he start randomly mutating with parts form all the aliens inside the Uta matrix. Gwen looked sick as she covered her mouth and Ben looked away as he timed out. Yeah, it took him way longer than Kevin to absorb the energy, so I figured since all he knew were memories not his own, he won't have the skill to pull off a stable mutation. Gregor kept screaming on the top of his lungs in pain and horror as he mutated in the most sickening ways possible. Gwen bent over and threw up, so your plan is just to have him mutate into various forms of flesh blobs. Ben held his stomach and throw up as well, till he becomes something that is too mutated to live and drops dead. Be careful what you wish for, as he had the aliens he wanted. He even had some alien X like he wanted, he just can't handle it and all the bonus. Meanwhile on Earth. Applejack and Pinkie Pie helping Galapagos back up into a ship as Pinkie Pie said, don't worry, our brother BEN10 is handling Gregor and also our friend Kevin would like to say sorry for what his clone put you through. The turtle turned looking confused as Applejack said, clone, it's a copy of a person, it's what Gregor is. A copy of ours friend Kevin. The alien then said, that is F up insult to nature and the original person, he said slowly but horrified. Pinkie Pie helped him up and said, it's why Kevin is hunting he who made the clone in the first place and put you through this. The alien then said, my people that are peaceful, we know jail and lie but do not have them, but I hope he kicks the cloners into his skull. The two Tennyson sisters' eyes widened in shock as he was brought into the ship and taken home. Pinkie Pie then said, "It's always the ones who are nice you don't want to PSS the hell off." The sister nodded. Elsewhere Fluttershy was walking around people taking pictures making her fly off. "I liked hiding better," she said, hovering there and sitting on a cloud. "Can't go anywhere without pictures, people wanting to feed me carrots or sugar cubes. I am on a DT people." Above her Rainbow Dash looked down from a cloud. "Why are you dieting? There isn't a bit of fat on you, sis." Fluttershy flushed, covering her chest. "It all goes to a place that keeps making me buy new underthings and swimsuit tops." Dashy looked like she shattered at the comment. "Lucky bee." Fluttershy turned around and said, "I have enough perverts after me, I have a boyfriend." Something they should understand. Pinkie Pie and Rarity have it worse. The fact they are single makes them the main targets. Meanwhile at the Tennyson house, Rarity was panting as she ran in and locked the door. "Too many date offers, I swear." She then noticed Jessica laying on the couch and she said, "And you were here because?" Jessica had a book in her hand. "It's closer than my house was while I was running from rich asses who want to pay the mermaid to swim around in their fish tank for a week. I don't care how much they offer, I am not doing it." As I am sure what's motivating her. Rarity shivered. "You think that's bad?" Someone asked if I would let their daughter ride me. Said daughter was an adult, so no, I don't swing that way and not into that. I mean, we're people, we shouldn't have to do this. We are living things that should be respected, not put on stands to be hated or be treated as objects to be owned just because we are different. Pinkie Pie walked in and said, "I know, right?" She then looked over her shoulder at the readers and mouthed, "Shame on you people." She then went to skipping through. "Now if you don't mind, mine asked me to get her pickles and yogurt. And mustard. Yucca," she said, sticking her tongue out. Sandra's voice then called out, "And added cheese to that." The pink pony girl shivered. "Gross. It's like the worst grossed plate of mac and cheese." Meanwhile Applejack was stuck on side of the road with Carl. The car ended. Applejack then said, "Maybe we shouldn't has left town after droppings off that alien turtle guy's dad." They then heard creepy carnival music and turned to see Creepy Circus that just appeared. Carl nodded as he pulled out a plumber hand blaster and another one he handed to Applejack. "I don't think we are alone, but I think you're right. Come on, arm yourself, we are probably not going anywhere till we beat this," he said, walking forward with AJ following, saying, "Us hate the facts, you's probably right." In the circus Applejack was shaking as Zomboso's voice said, "So Carl man, your Ben's papa, well your BRT at 10 ruined my emotion-eating ring and saved his cousin. Little freak and his freak family." They couldn't tell where the voice was going from. Carl then yelled out, "My family is proud of our alien origins," he said, his horn lighting up the area to reveal before them the circus freaks. Acid breath went to breath, but Carl made a curved dome in front of his head so his acid bounced back onto him, needless to say the freak's end was not pretty. Zomboso spoke up. "Well, SHT didn't think the unicorn would go straight for murder." Thumbskull charged as Carl made magic shields to block his punches as he shot him point blank in the gut. "Didn't want to do that, but sometimes I'd have to do things you're not proud of or don't want to protect what you love." The undead clown's voice said, Oh cliché and sickening, what's next? Friendship is magical. GG me with a rusty radioactive spoon. Applejack was shaking at Acid Breath's headless corpse before jumping to avoid Frightwig's hair with grabbed and snapped a steel sheet in half in a show of strength. AJ took aim and tried to shoot her, but she kept avoiding till she fell down a trap door shaking. As she fell on a spider web, and a spider with an upside-down Zomboso head came down. Asking, "Hi freak, you're adopted, so what's wrong? Family didn't want you, so you jumped to group of freaks like yourself." The former element of honesty was shaking as she fired on the web, making herself fall. "My family loved Maz. It was Ian that took me from them," she said, landing below in a hall of mirrors, walking around till one of her reflects had clown face and screamed. She fired, shattering the mirror as her other now clown-faced reflection said, "That's 7-year bad luck." AJ walked through the passageway behind it to find herself on a platform leading to the high wire. The platform behind had a creepy laugh forcing onto it without a net, shaking to stay balanced as she turned to see Zomboso holding aside the rusty farmer's one. The clown cut the wire from his end, making the Anthro-Earth pony grab the wire and swing with it to the ground, landing face first as she got up, realizing she dropped her gun and she should have just shot the clown. He punched the dirt. The clown laughed before her with his scythe coming down for a swing as she rolled out of the way and got up as she said, "This ain't fair." The clown then said, "No, what's not fair is being on top only to be taken down by a 10-year-old with a funky watch." She jumped back, avoiding it, her blonde ponytail getting cut by a scythe swing that almost hit her face. Meanwhile, Thumbskull was down on the ground, knocked out by multiple blasts to the stomach. Carl had dropped his gun, it was out of ammo, and Frightwig went to grab him. In her hair, he stood still, letting her grab him as she laughed. "Oh, any last words, Papa Corn?" Carl smirked as his horn glue and a small fire spark came from it, hitting her hair, making the freak scream as her hair burst into flames, making her drop the father of the Tennyson family. The Tennyson rolled, putting out the fire that got him as he stood up smirking. "Got you. Let you grab me to set your hair on fire. My son would have become heat blast to not burn himself, but I don't have an Omnitrix. Or Utamatrix or whatever is on him." He then heard a yell and left the lady running around screaming and rolling on fire as he called out, "AJ." He then kicked the door down in time to see Zomboso had her cornered, about to hit her with the scythe. He then charged, tackling him, knocking him down and making him drop his scythe. The weapon was airborne. If Carl had not made a mana wall above him to block it, the blade would be in his skull, but he dropped the mana to grab the weapon and charged to use it himself, swinging it at the clown, panting. Sure, he had an anodite for a mother, but he was new to magic. He was getting tired of fighting. Zomboso growled, avoiding it but still getting the top of his hat cut off as he said, "You are almost as big a pain as your son, you know that?" He was clearly angry. Carl just panted out a, "Gee, thanks." AJ was blinking, stunned at this. Carl, her adopted dad, wasn't scared and managed to handle the freaks. She then noticed her gun still full of ammo shining in the distance, and she took a deep breath. She then charged with all the courage she had as she jumped dove and grabbed the blaster and took aim and said, "Calm down, AJ, it's just like that target shooting game you and your sisters play on that video game thingy." She then took aim and fired. In a moment she hit Zomboso in the leg, making him scream. Carl jumped back as his adopted daughter fired again and again, empty all the ammo from the blaster into the undead clown, ripping off a corner of its mouth, showing eyes, rotten teeth, and blasting him full of holes that make him look like he would in Omniverse. The blaster shots then fired, it was out of ammo. The clown blinked as he said, "You are supposed to be scared, you both were." Carl then swung his scythe, landed right in his head where the blade broke as he said, "You don't get it. What are we more scared of, losing each other or you? Answer is A, always A. That's why no matter what you won't scare us for long," he said, using the now bladeless handle to hit the clown upside the head before spinning it around to hit him in the gut, making him throw up BLD slime and what looked like cotton candy. The zombie laughed like crazy before Carl make his horn glow, and in a moment he was flash frozen. It was over as Carl said, "Come on, let's go find that jammer, break it and call to get him taken in," he said as he threw the staff away. AJ held her blaster empty in hand as she walked with her adopted dad. "Gee pa, thanks, if not for you Oz would have probably been decapitated by an undead clown." "Can't believe Oz just said that," she said, holding his head. Carl petted her back. "It's called parental instinct. If you have it you can do almost anything when your child is in harm's way, be the child yours by you giving him or her live, or life giving you them," he said, happily walking with her. AJ adjusted her hat, smiling as she happily said, "Gee whiz pa, that's profound, but Os one's one more question, where the hell's you learned how to fight with a staff?" Carl then chuckled as he said, "When I was a kid I was being bullied, so I grabbed a groom and used it was a weapon. I won the fight, so I always practice it. Found out bowstaffs were a thing, and pretty much all pole arms are the same thing, just different blade shape and spot." AJ looked at him stunned. "Did yous just say you beat the SHT out of your pulleys with a broom as a kid?" Carl nodded as he said, "Yeah, where do you think Ben gets that drive to stop bullies from?" Ben was returning home as he said, "And that's another one of Gregor's problems solved. Don't care if Kevin says it's not what happened. Those rooters turned great-grandpa into a wolf, had to be," he said, thinking back to great-grandpa Bray. He then called out, "I'm home and decontaminated everyone," he said, happily coming in. That is when he spotted Rarity coming in dressed in a white tank top leather jacket with spike pants, black skirt, purple stocking and black heel boots, and he looked out to see someone driving away on a bike. Rarity is with a biker. Before long Rarity was on a stool being grilled as Fluttershy messed with Rarity's punk-styled mohawk. What is this, a viral transformation? Rainbow looked at her adopted sister, Mom, who is PRGN and is upstairs crying right now. You are part of a family of cops, woman, she said, pointing. Pinkie Pie was stunned as she said, I mean, I don't want to be the last single Tennyson woman for SHT, but the F. Twilight ran a mana trace to find out who he is. He has warrants out for his arrest. Twilight held out his mug shot, a human with one eye covered by a patch and scar, red mohawk, black tank top, orange pants, spiked jacket and metal boots on with skull faces. Fistrick, you're dating Fistrick, he's an arms dealer. She said, stunned. Applejack then point to Twilight, he steals and captures aliens, and there's Tex, he's a varmint that Big Brother has to knock out in jail, not someone you bring home to Ma and Pa, young lady. Carla walked in and sighed as he got a message, I hate my father, he just says Rarity is undercover for him in the ring. Rarity point quickly at it as they all gasped, and while Pinkie Pie ran upstairs, MOM, she's just undercover. Ben face palmed, how we can't hide, he knows you're a Tennyson 4 miles away. I mean, look at us. We're the only family with anthro equines in them, he said, hovering a mirror to her. Rarity looked away and said, I don't like it either. But my reputation of wanting to not be the last single Tennyson woman and Fistrick love of alien stuff makes me perfect. He thinks I'm his mole for the plumbers and his girlfriend. Now if you don't mind, I had to kiss him and I need to wash the taste of motor oil out of my mouth. The next night in a warehouse, Rarity was sitting in Fistrick's lap as she said, I know you aren't missing an eye, so what's with the patch? The Fistrick said, no disrespect, but that's need to know, babe, he said, putting a hand on her peach, making Rarity jump at it. She then crossed her arms, no disrespect, but watch that hand, this skirt is leather, it's hard to keep clean. The biker said, don't worry, I respected you enough to wash my hands before touching you. Now then, he pushed her to the side, time for the unveil. He said as he walked over to a sheet, and Rarity's eyes widened as he said, behold, bros and respected babes. And however you self-identity, if it ain't bro or babes, alien spaceship to spaceship missiles, he said, pointing to 2 of them. He then opened one and spoke up, this bad boys each have 5 engines that give it the power to go half a light year in distance in a year. That's fast, that's about 6 miles a second. For about 1 point something miles a second per engine. The gearhead clapped, but he raised his hand, settle down, not down yet, no disrespect. But anyhow, this bad boys don't have any explosives to them, they were test models fired last year, I monitored them for cents then, hoping some would head our way, and 2 did. We have then little more than a mile a second engines on us if we lucky. If not less with repairs. Okay, done, smart guys up front. Later on, Rarity was leaning against the wall, arms crossed as on of the gear. Punk said, okay boss, good news, we are able to get half the engines firing again. Fistrick smiled as he said, good, not great or perfect, but good is good too. Perfect. Now the racers we are putting this for are 10 times bigger, and there is air drag here and other stuff for, oh, I would say about 10 miles a minute in a planet. The gearhead said, yeah, sounds right, still fast as SHT, he nodded as the boss said, babe, come here and check them out. Rarity walked up, her eyes gasping as there was she saw 10 mech suits of alien deck that looked gorilla-like as he said, me the rad, awesome cood endangers robots or racer mechs. The robots were orange with skull-like heads as he smiled, now they has really epic power and armor, your bro's ultimate humixor form couldn't crack this shells with its fist, now the mace Thailand bio-missile hands maybe, but not with fists. And they could return the same kind of punch, but they are slow as SHT, he said, pointing to the tank tread legs. These things were made by reverse engineering this crashed alien mech suits, I found only the top half so we had nothing to make legs off of. Rarity blinked, so you're going to put those engines into 5 of them, making them super fast and strong, she gasped. Fistrick smiled as he put a hand on her shoulder, and you gets it, babe. Pity the other 5 are spare parts, but we just has one more problem to overcome. At high speed the metal will heat up and break after a while. Now the force fields we are installing will help, but they're nothing compared to the one you make. Rarity backed away as the biker said, "You know when we were drag racing you made that crazy magic dome around us, it light up the road nice and bright and cut down on drag, doubling my bike's speed. So I got this wicked spell, stones form charm caster. It was a down low deal, can't talk about it, but you just cast the spell and the suit's shield will become your magic shield when we install the stones." The white unicorn's jaw dropped, "So you'll have armored almost unbreakable mech suits the size of Ultimate Humixor, able to move at almost 20 miles a minute." The punk nodded, crossing his arms proudly, "And that is the mind of your man, putting it all together to make powerful lighting quick robots to control." Made even more epic as Kevin dropped that ultra-hard crystal when dealing with the radiation alien. He pointing to one robot that had a hand replaced with said crystal on a drill, for high-powered drill action for mine. Rarity backed up stunned, reaching for something only for him to hold out the box. "Yeah, I know about your wire the whole time, as you can probably tell, babe. I'm not as stupid as the red spots thing. No disrespect to your fam." The unicorn shook hands, shaking as he said, "I know you're listening, so time for this." He removed his eye patch to reveal an implanted eyepiece and shined it, making Rarity's eyes turn orange, and she jumped onto him. "Just revealed my implant that lets me brainwash and control, babe. Your granddaughter is mine now." He then crushed the wire. Max on his end was horrified at what he would have to tell his family. Meanwhile the brainwashed Rarity had her hands on her peach as she said, "Okay, I cast the spell, so install those things, bros. Hurry, hurry, my brother will be breaking the door down any minute now. Get this, racers." A moment later the door was banged open by Ultimate Humungosaur's tail, only for one of the racer mechs to charge out at high speed with its strength boost, knocked the Ultimate back as the punk in it smiled. "The boss is right, magic plus alien tech rocks. We're going to bash BEN10. With his own sister's help." Ben had a black eye holding ice to it as he was speaking to Jessica. They had numbers and speed, so Ultimate Humixor was no use. The force fields kept them safe. Form Ultimate Big Chills Ice Fire. I tried upgrades to fast to grab hold of, let alone merge. Lodestar magnetic powers would work on one, but when I tried to rip one apart it just stopped and one of the other 9 hit me. Echo multiplying weapons. Me and his ultimate's disc are useless as they aren't as fast as the things. That is when Jessica's mother Lucy walked in her ankle-length blue skirt and orange sweater. Looking at the newscast, brainwashed sister, Ben nodded. Jessie walked in her tan skin shining in the lighting, inside her long black hair down. She was in jean shorts, cowgirl boots, white button-up shirt and a cowgirl hat. What we have here is the classic problem. It's a numbers game, you said it yourself, Ben boy, you can handle one. There are 10, pick them off, think where they will be, not where they are, like in that old video game. Ben removed the ice back and shook her hand. Jessie, thank you so much. I would go with numbers, but we're spread pretty thin right now. Later on in the desert, as the racer mechs were loading up a desert vault's gold up, Fistrick said, "Wait, counting me, I see 9, where is racer 10? Come on bro, this ain't funny." That is when they noticed a hole. Below it the racer got up to see Armadillo just in time for him to become Lodestar and rip it apart. 1 down, 9 to go. At that point Fist pounded and the other 9 came in. One with its drill arm spinning came in as Ben looked to Rarity as he hit a dial, becoming Ghost Freak. "Rarity sister, look, it's me," he said as he went ultimate. The drill phasing through him, he still couldn't land a hit on them, but he said, "Sister, I know you're still in there. He is messing with your head, fight it. He's a grease monkey trying to hurt your brother. If that's not enough, think about how much he is going to stain your outfit." In the mech, Rarity looked to see oil stain on her leather vest and she growled at Fistrick and in a moment ripped out his implant, leaving him with just an eye, and kicked him out as her eyes returned to normal. In a moment she used the drill to smash another racer mech as she said, "Did you need a hand, brother dear?" Men's stomach mouth smiled as he said, "Very much." He then went back to normal and went upgrades, grabbing on to Rarity's mech, making its drill arm bigger and glowing, its legs now true legs, and its size grow as it gained another set of arms. Mech radio. Ben called out as Rarity in control charged out, landing 4 strikes to racer mech's head, leaving just 3. With tried to run, but the drill hand fired off like a missile, landing and hitting 1. Bad idea to make this things fast enough to sidestep the force field so we can move at high speed. Fistrick, she saw him gone. I'll geld him later. Her mech then climbed out and she hit a button, out of sight, but Fistrick put a tracker for them in. Here brother, in a flash the light went off and Ben was in the controls with her the mech back to normal but missing its drill. Rarity opened the lid and coughed, moment to get the smell of corn dogs and oil out of here. She said coughing, a moment to process being brainwashed into being his girlfriend, she cried waterfall before jumping down stopping. She then magically made a changing room appear and she went in, and a moment to feel like a mare again, she went in and walked out in her normal outfit adjusting her mane, and after we stopped those other two mechs a moment to yell at Grandpapa for putting me in that spot. She then hopped back in and drove off fast enough finding and smashing one mech with hers fist then getting the other leaving this one armed one the last racer mech suit. Later on. Fistrick was running through a sewer when in a moment he saw Rarity looking pissed in each hand a brick as she said, "Why hello my ex." She sounded friendly but around where was a demonic dark magic fire aura. "I am very mad about what you did but as much as I would love to let run and be hunted by my pissed off family and never see you again. If I do that all I went through was pointless. I am a Tennyson, we always get our criminal darling. But I'm not letting you just go to jail, that would be too good for you. Ever hear of gelding?" The man turned to run the other way but XLR8 was there as he said, "No disrespect bro but you got this coming." Rarity then charged like a mad woman on a mission and she would completely. Later on back at home Rarity was walking out of the bathroom in her white diamond marked with her name on tower stretching, "Thank goodness we have 2 bathrooms, I no longer smell him." Pinkie Pie walked up, "Gee sis what did he?" She was asking out of worry but Rarity sighed. The white mare said, "Nothing my dear sister, big brother snapped me out of it before he had a chance for me to be anything else but arm candy, but the fact he could have is what has dad pulling for him to get the death penalty and what has mommy crying her PRGNT eyes out." The pink sister gulped and said, "Yeah. What did you do with the mech suit?" Rarity then said, "Kevin put one of the other mech's arms on it so its 2 arms spray painted it green and replaced the skull with the red spot badge picture, and installed a lock on it so only us or anyone related to us can use it. Point is we have a mech suit now, it's in the garage between Ben and Dad's cassers." At that point Rainbow Dawes walked into the garage, spotted the giant robot and her wings flared as she said, "I love my family," she said flatly as she looked at it and looked to the key rings to see Ben's car, Carl's car mecha keys. She went to grab it but in a moment her hand got slapped and it was Sandra in a white dress clearly on month 6 of what could be a 9 to 11 month PRGNNCY and said, "Not on your life Dashi, you don't even have a driver's license." Rainbow turned away rubbing her hand, "I'll pass the driver's test and be back later." A week later at a Mr. Smoothie. Fluttershy was drinking, "This Alien X1 is a letdown." Pinkie Pie was drinking one with goop on the cup, "I can't believe Ben sold out like this." "Well I can guess." Jessica was drinking Form 1 with Ben's picture on it as she said, "He needs something, he is paying for all the damage for his fights that he views as his doing, know the villain so a lot." Ben then point and saw Forever Knights run in, take a smoothie machine and run out. Did the Forever Knights just steal a smoothie machine? The pink Tennyson then said, "Yep big yep. Wait I'll ask about it." She said pulling out a phone, "Somehow I end up going on a blind date with this guy belonging to the Kill the Dragon Only faction. We somehow hit it off." Ben eyed her, "You're dating a Forever Knight," he gasped dropping his smoothie. Pinkie Pie nodded as she said, "We know it's weird anyway, his name is Sir Adams and Form what he texted me, this rat and a quake costing alien hijacked a castle." Walking into the Forever Knight castle our group smiled as Kevin turned down money from King Arjit as he said, "That money is stolen, I am clean and legit now, I can't accept that rat." Arjit rolled his eyes, "You got to make everything difficult don't you? And oh wait, Benny looking different, new haircut, and who's the babes?" Jessica held Ben's arm, his girlfriend. Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy then said, "Are we 2 of his 6 going on 7 sisters?" The rat held his chin, "G never mentioned siblings but I would try to hide them too." Ben was already heat blast ready to fire a rat. But had is when Andreas showed up, drill fists spinning, but Ben turned into a copy of him making the alien step back in shock as Ben said, "I can do you too buddy. That sounded wrong and I am sorry." Pinkie Pie was texting as she said, "Yeah that's going on the internet." Anyway, Mr. Armadillo or Original Armadillo or whatever your name is, the Aline then said. Andreas, the pink pony girl said, well, we handle the Gregor, and as red spots we are offering free rides home. Andreas held his chin as he said, well, I think I repaid Arjit enough for saving me, so sure I'll go. Kevin smiled as all of the group walked out, leaving Arjit alone with Mist off forever nights. One of the knights saluted and said, I do so promise when I finish paying back artificial eyes I need to see I'll quit working for them, Ben sir. Ben, who was still Armadillo, looked at him. Sir Adams. He nodded and got punched through a wall before Ben timed out. Pinkie Pie saw him groaning and whispered, put some ice on it, honey. Kevin then got into his car and said, well, I am off. He drove off, passing by Rarity using the mech suit to smash rocks in a quarry to blow off steam on being the only single Tennyson lady. A message then flashed on screen making him drove off quickly as he said, hell no. Meanwhile in the forest, Kevin's mother Pam Levin was running. It seemed simple to her. Go clear your head upon learning your first husband was a fake memory and you had no idea who your son's father was. But the rooter Cervantes was screaming as he fired off lightning blasts. My base taken for me, left to riot in the void by the plumbers I want to save, formed Tennyson by the lad I found and planned to use. Kevin's mom was running, avoiding his electric blast. He wasn't that good at aiming anymore, but in a moment Kevin's car crashed into him. As Kevin jumped out and touched the metal, he wrecked his ride to save his mom. In a moment Kevin was green metal and he went in with hammer hand to hit the rooter. Why can't you just leave me and my mom alone? Haven't you hurt us enough? The rooter held his head using his lighting to move the metal away from him, pushing Kevin back, who growled as he touched a boulder to become stone and charged through the lighting, yelling, can't shock a rock, he said, making a mace hand. The rooter avoiding the strikes easily as he spoke, I have had to start over thanks to you turning on me and your clone. Kevin was growling at this as he said, you used me as a weapon. I was a kid. You messed with my head. I have no idea about my past. Me and my mom even had to have a DNA test to see if we were really mother and son. Cervantes avoided the teen hero strikes as he said, please, I knew you were father and son and most people would be happy they spent that much time with their father. Kevin didn't gasp as he landed a hammer strike, like I would believe that BS, the bad guy was sent flying. The half-shellfish said, I suppose I do deserve that. One for being an idiot on the fake father BS. But your mother found my new lab. I can't let either of you survive. But in a moment a blast was fired and it made a hole in his head and he fell over dead. Kevin turned as he saw his mom holding an energy weapon she got from his trunk, a laser lance, as he blinked and said, didn't know you had it in you, Mom. Pam Levin put the weapon down as she said, and I wish I never knew I had it either, but I do. But come on. He has children in cages again. Or had. If we don't save them no one will. Kevin then followed his mom, returning to normal. He came to a cave where he walked in, seeing a lab and cages, 2 girls and their anthro earth ponies, both little girls dressed in rags, and Kevin growled as he aid, relax, I'm here to help. What's your names? He heard Diamond, Tiara and Silver Spoon. He then looked at the lock, bio lock, only the one who locked it can unlock the cage, but there is always loopholes. He said, touching the metal and absorbing it to give himself bigger fists, and in a moment he grabbed the bars and started ripping them apart. Thank you, superpowers. This is way better being brainwashed and crazy. The 2 foals gasped in shock, eyes crying tears of joy when the last bar was removed, and in a moment they ran out crying and hugged Pam's legs out of instinct. Later on, Ben was timing out form being jury rig as he said, their cars all fixed, so your mom adopted the 2 girls. Kevin nodded, yeah, and you got rat home, so we are done cleaning up after my evil clone, he said, turning the car on. A few weeks later, Tiara, dressed in black shirt, black jeans and black boots, was watching a movie with Silver Spoon, who was dressed in a purple sundress and sandal boots. Silver said, Jenny Nocturne is an amazing actress. Tiara then smiled, I heard she is citing a book soon. You thinking what I am thinking? Later on, Kevin was in line saying, and that's how I end up here. They used cute face you, Ben. Ben sighed, Jessica is a fan, but she was out of town with her mom, so getting it for her. At that point robbers showed up with guns, grabbing her as they said, 10 million 1 hour or she dies. A moment later Kevin absorbed metal form, a street light charging. The robbers tried to fire but it was bouncing off. They then tried to run only to find XLR8 behind them. The lizard hit its dial becoming Spider Monkey before going ultimate, webbing them up with web spit as he grabbed the blonde to make sure she wasn't hurt, and then Ben timed out. The movie star went to give him a kiss but Ben dodged it. "Yeah, no, I have a girlfriend. I get it, I'm a unicorn, but can you maybe just give me and my friend autographs?" We waited in line for a while. The movie star pulled out 2 pictures and signed them. "To my heroes Ben and Kevin, love, Jennifer." Nocturne. Later on at home Ben said, "Then when I gave her mine, Jessica said she was no longer a fan after watching the news." He said to Twilight as he added, "Think it was because she tried to kiss me?" Twilight nodded, "Yeah, because now the blonde movie star is just a home wrecker." The door then rung as it was opened to reveal Captain Nemesis. Ben blinked. "Captain Nemesis, I looked up to you as a kid," he said happily, holding his hand out. The rich man said, "Nice oti no ten Benny son." He did not shake hand as he said, "Anyway, I was about to show up to the crime sense but you beat me to it. Anyway, you're a new hero. I seems right to invite you to the party I am throwing. I invited Jennifer so she can say thanks to her hero again. Come, bring your family, bring your lady you chose over her, bring your friends. I don't really care. This Saturday 9, he said, handing him an pass. Rarity walked in, a big-time Hollywood party. Shopping is need. At the party the pony girl were dressed and altered for their new form versions of their gala dresses, boyfriends on their arms. Pinkie Pie's boyfriend was wearing a white mask with just 2 glowing red eye holes for reasons the family knew. Even Rarity had a date in the form of a plumber in training named Rook who was interning at the Earth base. Kevin adjusted his tie. Gwen in her prom dress as he said, "Good thing I end up buying this." Beside him Tiara was happily looking around in a simple black dress as she said, "So fancy," she said smiling. Silver Spoon had on a matching one and rump bumped with her sister at it. Ben was in a green suit, black undershirt and green tie, Jessica holding his arm. She was dressed in a flowering green dress and a shell necklace as she smiled as she said, "I do one charity calendar in my mermaid form and everyone knows me, even Jennifer is jealous SCK I got more fame." And the man Cooper was eating one of the snakes as he commented on it, "Yeah, seems to be a trend that this was to try and upstage them." Twilight was looking around as she said, "Aging hero who needs suit-up time versus young hero who is ready with a twist and slam and has more powers. Of course he is going to hate Ben, he is proof he's a falling star, and plus I know form Jessica." Jennifer was second choice for her new role. People keep coming to get Jessica to act as the mermaid is more fame but she is too camera shy. Many then clapped and said, "All I am hearing is this is going to be good." Captain Nemesis walked up to Ben, "Ah, young 10 Benny son." Our hero quickly said, "Ben Tennyson's or Ben 10 sir." He said he was getting rude at it. He was stuck up. It was like meeting Kangaroo Commando when he was a kid again, a massive letdown. The captain rolled his eyes, my a rude unicorn, how childhood ruining," he said looking at his own reflection in his armor. Ben crossed his arms, "No, you are childhood ruining sir. I looked up to you but I can tell you're in it for fame. I didn't even want fame, I want to stay hidden, but a fan ruined that. So if you think you're the better hero, let's settle this like men. A 3-round contest tomorrow." The armor hero smiled and laughed, "A contest of champions, I like it, pony boy. I accept this honor contest between heroes. It'll be good for ratings and we can send the rating money to a charity." Ben then pointed and said, "The Bellwood Orphanage. My aunt grew up there," he said with a smirk. The captain put his hands on his hips and said, "Aw, you love your auntie, how cute. Very well, how about this Friday, say 5? Ben then said, 6. I'm helping my girlfriend with her video camera shyness at 5. Jessica was red and covering her face as camera phones were pointed her way, as he said, "It's a mermaid thing." At the contest, Jimmy was cheering loudly, as were the Tennysons and Levies. Will was at a train yard. It sickens me to admit that Ben himself called for this contest. Let us all hope a real American hero who has nothing to hide wins this day. First up, strength. The captain used his armor to throw a train car only for Ben to turn into way big, grab one and just drop it a little farther away than the captain, making the captain growl as he lost round 1. The next one was Speed when Captain was running his eyes widen as XLR8 was there reading a book at the finish line as he said, "Do you know how long I have been waiting? I read all of this. And I read at a 3rd grade level," he said jokingly before he had to move out of the way of a laser blast. Everyone gasped, even Will, as the captain fired as Ben said, "I was going to give you contest 3 out of good sportsmanship, but if you're not going to be a good sport I won't. I won 2 out of 3, you have already lost." Will sighed as he said, "While I understand frustration with the alien and I hate to compliment him, but as big as his ego is, he is at least a good sport. An American hero fell today, we can all agree on this." Ben then hit the dial, becoming portaler and hopping in a portal to leave, as did everyone. Later on that night, Ben as Amphibian was fighting Dimension 10 robots, zapping them out as he said, "Never meet your heroes, kids." That is when the captain's face appeared on screen as he said, "Great, just when I am sick of him." That is when he pointed behind him to see Jennifer and Jessica tied up hanging over acid. "I've only been in this for fame, you were right about me, Benny son. Now I'll be fames as the one who makes you suffer." He then heard a voice saying, "Shut it." He then turned and there was 2 goops, one holding each lady, as both turned into Echo Echo to merge, teleporting cloning living air bag. He then became Water Hazard and fired, knocking him out as he said, "Can't wait to see how Will spins this SHT against me. You know what, I know I am on Life Hack TV and I cursed, but I don't care right now. Come on ladies, let's split," he said, firing water to blast the door down. Nemesis tried to get up but his armor fell apart as Jessica remained hidden behind Ben. She whispered and Ben said, "Camera shy mermaid says your armor was superheated, so cooling it would shatter it." He then fired at the camera, ending the broadcast. In the Tennyson house, Pinkie Pie looked to the calendar. "Gee, we are getting close to term for mom. 2 months and it's month 11 and the BRTH of a new Tennyson. I hope it's a little brother only so Dad and Ben feel less outnumbered." Rainbow Dash came in holding something. "Passed the driver's test, let me at that mech suit," she said, happily skipping as she headed to the garage. A month later, Ben was sitting around a campfire with Jessica, Gwen and Kevin. "So Vreedles are red spots and Charmcaster's real name is Hope. Been a month." Something then crashed in the mountain rage and they all got up knowing the size of an adventure. Ben then sighed, "Can't have one day." Jessica smiled as she said, "Yeah, I know right, at least you guys aren't super alone. I mean, I am the only mermaid, I'm as close to extinct as possible here," she said sadly as Ben put an arm around her. In the forest, Jessica, Ben, Kevin and Gwen came to a pod and Jessica was quick to touch it before jumping back. "Ouch, it shocked me. Wait, my finger is bleeding." In a moment the pod opened to reveal a lady that looked like she could be Jessica's sister but with green eyes stretching. Jessica covered Ben's eyes as Gwen covered Kevin's. "Put some cloths on, lady, the steam is almost gone." Gwen held her hand out, making a copy of Jessica's green bikini appear on the lady, who blinked. "Gee thanks, who am I and where am I?" she said before looking at Jessica, "And why do you look like older, less pretty me?" In a moment the mermaid tackled her double. "I kill you." Later on at the campsite, Ben had given the still nameless lady his jacket when Sunder showed up. Right away Ben became Spider Monkey before going ultimate to spit web at him, restraining him. Moments later Gwen pulled his glider form under him. Kevin grabbed a rock and became Stone and ran up, hitting him with an enlarged fist. That is when Jessica blinked as she spotted a tail in the river next to them, swimming away in fear as Ben's jacket was on the ground. "Hold the phone." She then jumped in her legs, becoming a tail, and there was her slightly younger green-eyed double as a mermaid. Jessica's eyes widened as she swam after her. That is when Azimuth appeared and said, "I think I best explain." Ben turned. "The lady you found is the Unitrix, my prototype for the Omnitrix. It becomes a member of the race whose DNA it scans. It appears it became a mermaid as it scanned Jessica. As it's doing its job and doubled that race's numbers, I'll leave her be, but she can't just run around. The system scan should still be working." In a moment Jessica jumped out holding her double. "Explains why she got that fish's sharp teeth and tried to bite me," said. Sharp teeth were shown before turning back to normal. The double said, "I don't want to go back in storage." Kevin then said, "Eunice, calm down." They all looked at him. "What, it's her name without the tricks at the end?" Not that hard to figure out. Look, Asmith said, you're doing your job as you doubled the number of mermaids. You're not going back in storage. Asmith held his chin, rubbing his head after for a moment. Yes, but you look too much like Jessica even with the DNA randomized. I know I need help on Primus. How about you come be my helper? Eunice's tail became legs as she stretched. Okay then. I guess I will. Dad. Asmith jumped at it as Ben held his chin, smirking. Before the Galvan could speak, Ben used his magic to keep his mouth shut. You made her. She is alive because of you. Sounds like a parent to me, old toad. He then let go of his mouth. The old-timer rubbed his jaw. Point noted. Benjamin also go luck when summer rolls around. Fluffy boy. In a moment he teleported away with Eunice. Jessica meanwhile was getting up her tail legs again, doing a little dance. I am not the last little mermaid, she said, jumping for joy as she danced around, making Ben blush. Kevin elbowed him as he said, dude, your horn's glowing and you're not using magic. And oh look, when it's making a mana heart, he said, pointing at the bubbling mana hearts. It's like in an old school cartoon. Gwen blinked and crossed her arms. Yes, it is. Funny, very funny. And metaphor, I believe, she said, chuckling as Ben hit his face. His girlfriend turned red and jumped as she got it. Well damn, Ben. She then hugged him and said, so cute, she said, nuzzling her fur. A few weeks later on Primus. In its green oceans, Eunice was swimming to the bottom to check out a tube where she check it, spoke into a wristwatch. Yeah, it's still trying to get a pure sample of the race Ben was spliced with. But can't. Asmitha's voice said, it's wasting power on that way too much, and if we can't fix it at large, can't fix it at small. With makes finishing the Omnitrix a difficult task. The mermaid said, yeah, you're telling me, Daddy. Asmith sighed as Eunice said, is it possible you don't like me calling you Dad because you know you will outlive me, or it makes you think of the family you could have had with Zenith if you never made that sword? The old Galvan was quiet for a moment before saying, it is option B. A is not a problem or a possibility anymore. Eunice jumped and said, say what? The old Galvan said, unlike my father, who I gave a younger body to cure him of cancer, mine is in the pea-brain. I have at most 10 years left before my pea-brain rots away and I have to go on life support to keep breathing. I don't want that. It's why I am wanting to finish my Omnitrix as my final parting gift to the universe. Eunice spoke up, hold the phone. Hold it up. I am finally alive and my dad is already dying. That's not fair, she said, crossing her arms and pouting. Asmith sighed as he said, life isn't fair, Eunice. If you want to help, then help me finish this. I have made a patch based on why it hasn't scanned for mermaid DNA. Just wait to see if the tube changes in the next 5 minutes. The cyborg mermaid nodded as she said, yeah, and Dad, thanks for giving me life. Later on Earth. Pinkie Pie at the Tennyson house was talking to Rainbow, so Rarity is keeping in long distance with that plumber intern Rook who just told us the Vreedles are now red spots. The hell is up with that? Anyhow, oh wait, it's Dad. He texted Mom in LBR. The new Tennyson is coming. After 11 months. They then both got up and Pinkie Pie, the mech suit, it's the fast thing we got, both hopped in and in a moment a mecha parked in a hospital parking lot. Both sisters hopped out, Pinkie using the key to lock it as they ran in panting to the nurse, Mom having baby, what room? We shouldn't have to say who. The nurse, room 1010, both then took off up the stairs as the elevator was marked as down. When they got to the room they were panting, their mom was sleeping and Carl was holding the baby, showing her to the rest of the family. She was a little green anthro unicorn with blonde hair sleeping soundly in Carl's arms. Carl smiled, hi Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie, come meet your new sister Megan Tennyson. The little foal yawned and made cute little sounds in her sleep, making both Mara's eyes sparkle at it. Twilight was watching Megan play with blocks while she was doing something on her laptop as Rarity came in. So you're not focused on me dating that Rook guy with his now long distance, or Pinkie's man Adam in jail waiting to officially pay for being a forever knight and join the red spots, so what are you doing? The Olicorn said, simply put, I am looking into place to go for summer as it'll be Megan's first, and Ben's trip to Zarkovia was a waste. By the way, he posted on it, can't get Victor as the king's brain is in it, still a rebellion as Prince still in power waste of a day. Twilight then said, and now Aunt comments about another alien in the house. No wonder Ken left and Gwen moved in with Kevin, clearly Grandma dropped off cousin Sunny a crazy Anodite girl. Darn, it will take her auntie more magic over here anyhow. Before long Sunny teleported in and said, well, it will be less boring here, so what's going on? Twilight turned her computer to show Dimension 12 robots stealing oil. Sunny smiled, crazy robots, are we going to fight them? Where are they? She said excited. Twilight held out her hand, yes, fighting them is the plan. Sunny cheered, going to Anodite form as she said, but as for where they are, we have a 50-50 chance they are stealing oil form factories. There are 2 left in town, they could show up to either. Funny held her chin as she said, yes I see, even with a teleportation spell we could miss one, so it's an easy fix, split up silly, half of us at one, half at the other. The Alicorn closed her laptop as she said, that'll do, just don't break the head, I'll need to use that to find out who is controlling them. Sunny nodded as she said, can I invited my boyfriend? Rarity said, don't see why not. Later on at an oil factory, Fluttershy was using the mechsuits to knock back the robots who were using a spinning blade mode. Okay, thank you, magic tech force field. Sunny was smiling, throwing mana blast at the robots, leaving only the heads as she said, leaving the head for cousin Twilight. AJ was jumping down from a rafter, landing a hit with a sledgehammer on one's head, just need one head. Antonio smiled as he grabbed a metal beam and used it to smash one, that makes it fun. Sunny smiled as she fired on another robot, if this is half of plumber work I am for it, she said happily. Later on in the plumber base, Blukik and Dryba were working on decoding the head. As Mac said, Sunny, so nice to see you on the right side of the law, he said happily, kind of proud. Sunny smiled as she said, are you kidding me, this is fun, only done side the waiting, forget locations for more fighting, she said excited. Pinkie Pie point to screen, Forever Night logo. I am going to go ask Adam what he knows, she said dashing off. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes looking on her phone, what the hell would the Forever Knights want with oil, let alone using alien robots to do it? Fluttershy then held up a finger, hide their trial, it's so not them we would have though they were the ones doing it, she said making a point of it. Antonio rubbed his chin, kind of cowardly. Blukik said, bingo, he said pointing to a map, we were able to trace the remote control signal to the one holding the remote's location. Sunny smiled as she said, yay. A little bit later Pinkie Pie was on point in the place as she said, Adam said there was this fraction that want to take over the states by controlling its resources to declare legal alien killing. Oil is kind of a big one. Sunny rolled her eyes as she said, that's so cliché, she said phasing through a wall and coming out saying, you girls have got to see this, she said making the wall vanish, and she hovered up to a supercomputer with a brain plugged in, the mastermind is a brain in a jar, how retro is this CRP? She said pointing at it, making mana arrows to do it. Pinkie Pie blinked as she pulled out a laser blaster and shot it, nope, no undead. No undead Inferno machine BS, she said as robots came in and turned off, oh look they are killing over now that the brain is dead. The troll-like alien held up his hand, now whose brain was it? Sunny looked at a label and said, says Enoch. You guys know him? Rainbow Dash said, yeah, tried to kill Ben when he was 10. Sunny then spat on the brain case, bad brain. That's my cousin who clearly has known how to have fun for years. You know, this is kind of fun being a freelance red spot, no paperwork, no desk time, just the action for hire. You know, I think I could do this. Maybe this is what Grandma want me to learn, that being good can be fun as much as being a prankster and party girl. Twilight had her laptop in tablet mode pointing at a spot and said, okay girls, great-grandpa Bray just messaged me from the Anner system. He said is sending a package to the house, and he has a new boyfriend named Scout. He is less than half your age, great-grandpa. Yuck. Sunny laughed holding her stomach, glad I'm not related to him. Anyway, how about we go get something to drink? Later on at Mr. Smoothie, Sunny was drinking one, but she snapped her fingers to make the speakers play some music so she could do a little dance while drinking. I think I can get behind this. And look, my time on Earth is almost over in 3-1. Verdona showed up arms crossed, so you didn't misbehave enough to justify a call, and Antonio. Her mom didn't want you around her. Applejack said, we were not informed of that part, Gram. We swear. Sunny rolled her eyes, please, we need extra muscle fighting giant robots. Grandma, just overlook it, I still got the listen that being good can be just as much fun. Hell, I even plan on being a freelancer for the red spots now so I can just enjoy the fun parts for getting paid. Me wanting to be a cop, Grandma. Isn't that the point, she said, making a heart while dancing to the beat. Verdona sighed and said, okay, I guess we don't have to tell your mommy your boyfriend stopped by to say hi. But just don't show up on our planet till summer is over. The troll-like guy gave a thumbs up and said, thanks, he sounded happy. In a moment the two Anodites were gone. Pinkie Pie then asked, Adam didn't mention Enoch being a brain in a jar, just it probably being his fraction. Wait, does this mean the Enoch Ben fought at 10 was a drone body and he was always a brain in a jar? Rarity pointed to her sister and said, let's not ask that, sister dear. Ben was walking into a building with Jessica on his arm and out ran Elena, who Ben made a mana wall to keep away as she tried to kiss him, with my girlfriend, and I don't think of you like this. Jessica had her arms crossed, care to explain why me and my boyfriend were attacked by your supposed to be dead dad with the swarm powers? Elena walked off, follow. She said, showing them tanks of active chips, I found out how to reactive them using cached data and manipulate it to control groups of them. Chance are my laser fields failed, allowing a few to get out of my remote's range and act on the cached data programming that turned them back on. Ben nodded, but Jessica looked, they are charging at me while you stare at me jealously. Since you're controlling them, ever stop to think they think of you as queen and are responding to your emotions? Before Ben could comment, B jumped as chips morphed into a copy of Jessica, then a sword cut the copy's head, making them break apart as he turned his dial to Nanomech and said, I hope I am wrong. He then transformed and there was a second flash showing he went ultimate as copies of Nanomech merged into a humanoid shape. Ben's voice held out his hand, and in a moment Elena turned into her nanochip form. Well, Jessica, you were right, she is the queen. Elena morphed her hands into saws and charged at Jessica, and Ben should be my king, but Elena's hands fell apart as chips fell dead and she stumped back. Ben's swarmed mimicked, hyper-evolved human nanochip hybrid. Lady, if you're a queen, I'm an emperor. Jessica crossed her arms, really, lady, attacking because things aren't the way you want it, that's the actions of a child. Of course you don't get that, being a bug queen who thinks all are her drones. You don't have the humanity to think it over. Hurt me, what makes you think that would win his love? Ben nodded as he snapped his fingers, making the chips and tanks explode around Elena, who tried to break apart and flee only to be frozen as he said, stop panicking, the chips eat and absorb the mind of the real Elena. This isn't murder, this isn't death, it's cache data cleanup. In a moment all the chips explode and Ben returned to normal as he sighed, putting his hands in his pocket. She was probably already the queen back then, and the one I fought in her dead, a decoy. Jessica sighed as she held his arms, sorry, your friend was long dead and gone. Ben left with her, heading to his car as he said, yeah, but I couldn't tell. For all I know, Nanomech was put in there as she altered the chips that made her up to human chip hybrid for the Omnitrix to copy. I mean, I have the Utamatrix now, but the Omnitrix scanning them is the only reason I have Nanomech. Jessica got in the car as he drove off. Stalker alien plays the long haul. Wait, does that mean she killed her own father so his attack would give reason for us to come to her? Bring you into her lawyer, and don't those chips do mind control? And wouldn't a kiss be the perfect way to plant one without anyone noticing? Ben's eyes widened as he drove off and said, good thing I have magic now, he said shivering, was almost the mind-controlled SLV boyfriend of an Yandra insect swarm. Life has gotten to up lately, he said, commenting on it. Jessica sighed, I know, right? Has the world lost its mind? Have we lost our minds? Or it's just random chances? Ben sighed as he said, I know, right? Summer is coming up and I found out something important. There is this secure hidden plumber resort island for officers to spend vacation days on with guests, so undercover guys don't have to wear ID mask and can be themselves, domed so no video can be taken of the place from the inside or out, same with photos. Me and my family are heading there. Jessica smiled, I would love to come, I'll bring my mother, sounds fun. Ben shivered before saying, still hung on that the almost became a mind control love toy, and I should not have said that out loud, he said, holding his head. When he got home he walked in and went to his dad. Hey dad, my friend turned out to be a cyborg insect zombie. With plans to mind control me to be her boyfriend after murdering Jessica. Carl threw Ben a bear as he said, open it and drink. The teen hero opened it and took a sip. Next day Ben was holding his head with was bounding as he walked down the street and stumbled, Kevin grabbing him, and he asked, Ben, are you hungover? Ben nodded and said, Dad gave me my first bear. Magical father-son moment, wish I could remember it. Kevin's mother Pam then yelled out, tell your friend he needs some hot coffee and grease food. It'll make it less painful for a while. Ben looked to her and said, not going to ask how she know. Kevin threw Ben's arm over his, come on my hungover friend. The unicorn said, hungover unicorn, I am going to be a meme by not mourning. Later on Ben was looking over Pinkie Pie's shoulder to see pictures of him hung over with captions under it, called it, I'm a meme. What this teenage magical superhero? Drunk as hell form stress, that's just true, not funny. Are the memers even trying? Sandra waked in modeling a red bikini showing she lost all the baby weight, and Ben looked away as she asked, what do you think, Pinkie? We are heading to the beach. Work. The mother of what was now 8 struck a pose showing she could make most models drop dead with jealousy. Pinkie Pie looked at her and said, Mom, you should go golden, it would match the mane and tail and maybe some wing highlights. Sandra smiled and said, I'll have Twilight magic, its color off, and Ben grow up. I may be your mom but still a woman. She said, picking up Megan, who was crawling into the room and kissing her head. Ben's eye twitched, yeah I know that mom, but I don't have to like seeing it, let alone want to. He shivered walking off, but I pretty much see this as Jessica if we have kids. Pinkie Pie smiled and said, yeah I bet your little mermaid would be a mama sea bear, she said, giggling at her joke. Ben clapped at it and said, how long were you holding on to that pun, Pinkie? Or was this a moment where you said it for the halibut? Pinkie Pie laughed as Ben smirked. Rainbow Dash slid in saying, I 7 sees what you both did. Sandra held her chin, too forced, Dashy honey. Megan giggled and wrapped her arms around her mother's neck. On a tropical island with lumber buildings set up. Sandra was walking around in the bikini Pinkie Pie suggested Megan in a one-piece with water wings, belt and armbands. In her mother's arms looking around at it. Carl smiled in black trunks. Ben was getting out of a car in black trunks as he said, and finally here a red spot resort. Pinkie Pie walked out wearing a red bikini and smiled, summer party time. She said, jumping into the ocean. Twilight got out in her blue one-piece stretching, it was backless for her wings as she said, gee too bad we had to leave the boyfriends. Yet Ben brings his girlfriend. Rainbow Dash was in a rainbow bikini with a mini swim skirt on it. Egghead, most of our boyfriends don't have the off days, Pinkie's is in jail and Rarity's is a half a galaxy away. Plus Flutter's is a world away. Applejack walked out a green bikini with apples on it as she stretched and adjusted her hat. Us don't cares about that point, is it summer we can get away from all the dang varmint news hounds. Fluttershy walked out in a pinky one-piece with a skirt blushing, but, she said shyly. Rarity walked out in a black bikini with sunglasses and a sash tied around her side. Whatever darlings, I am just going to lay around enjoying the sun and peace from being around other red spots and their family. At with point Jessica in a green bikini jumped out and tackled Ben to the sand happily. Jessie walked up in her cowgirl boots and hat and a black bikini as she adjusted her hat. I remember when I used to do that to you honey, but can't anymore, we're not young, I tackle you to the ground, we both threw our backs out. Lucy, who was in a blue one-piece, rubbed her back. Just thinking of it, she said in pain from the thought. Rarity was in a chair and said, and trust me, we already took pictures to send to the boys to know what they are missing. Adam may be able to trade his picture of Pinkie Pie in jail. Pinkie Pie then yelled out, not funny rares, she said halfway out to sea already. Later on, Rarity was passing out and found herself walking around her dreams in her beach wear while she came to Luna, who said, "You're changed, but Discord is right, you are alive. What has happened? Why have you not returned?" Rarity sighed, "Follow me down my memories that will explain it all, princess." After it, Luna let out a sad, "Oh my, I hate to share this all with the others, they were so happy about it. Now I have to tell them all, it's impossible for you all to come home," she sighed. "I need to go say sorry to Discord, I found this while dream walking and yelled at him, now I have to break the news, Discord was doing it to not get their hopes up." Rarity nodded, "Now I am going to go wake up. I have to go tell the others about this." Meanwhile, underwater, Ben was Ripjaws swimming behind Jessica as he said, "Not to complain, I enjoy the view down here, but is there a point to this dive?" Jessica giggled while covering her mouth and said, "Why yes. Come check it out," she said, pointing to a crashed spaceship. Ripjaws came in and spotted a picture of a member of Ripjaws' species, and Jessica said, "And here we are. It's a few miles off from this island with legends of mermaids all over it. Maybe Ripjaws' people crashed interbreed and my people were born." Ben rubbed the back of his head, "Yeah, sorry Jessica, but there are a few holes in your theory. While I believe the people thinking Ripjaws' people gone local is spot on. The fact is Ripjaws lays eggs and the red spots confirmed you would give live BRTH. Humans and Ripjaws don't biological systems are compatible enough to natural crossbreed." Jessica looked sad, but Ben held up his hand. "But that is just natural, Twilight always said she sensed magic in you. It could be a case of unnatural crossbreeding like the helpers, so your theory can still work. It just needs a middleman with magic to happen." The Little Mermaid smiled as she said, "Well, at least I am getting closer to figuring out what I am and what happened my people," she said, hand on her chest before swimming over, wrapping her arms around her boyfriend and kissing him. Ben broke the kiss, "As much as I would love to see where this guys, we have 5 minutes till I time out and can't breath, and as much as I love kissing my girlfriend I would rather breath," he said, getting out of her arms to swim up, by following Bubbles. Jessica behind him smiling as she said, "At least I am part of your world," she said, giggling at her joke. As soon as they were head above the water and Ben timed out, he said, "And how long have you been waiting to use that?" Jessica shrugged, "I have a million of jokes to use for the halibut." Ben looked at her and said nothing for a moment before he said, "Yep. I am in love," he said in a deadpan tone. Meanwhile, Twilight was hiking through the jungle with a backpack on with her swimwear to some old ruins she heard about. Dusting them off, she smiled, "Oh, old ruins, yep, it's alien, and yep, the message is this was just a test ship to judge on how well it takes a crash, as we care about customer safety," she said, sitting down on it laughing. "I bet this freaked so many people who found it out till they got the translation," she said, using magic to open the hatch and pull out a white dummy in the shape of Armadillo. "This probably freaked them out too. It's a crash test dummy." She then held her chin, "Gee, I wonder if this was why we have so many alien crash stories, crash tests." She held her chin and said, "Yeah, that makes sense, has to be, just has to be." Elsewhere on the island, Discord popped into Fluttershy's room and said, "Your boyfriend is here, Fluttershy my dear." That is when she walked into his view in her swimsuit and he passed out with a nosebleed, and Fluttershy giggled, "That's the reaction you want." Pinkie Pie then came in and said, "Yo-yo sis, well, I came here to ask for some soap to help get the smell of sea salt out my fur, but I see you snuck in, your boyfriend didn't know you had it in you." The yellow mare jumped and was pink. "I didn't plan it, he just popped in," she said, hands out. "Don't tell mom and dad," she covered her mouth. Pinkie Pie smiled, "Oh, you owe me so much. Well, you're studying red spot law and have an internship at an intergalactic law firm. Work up a work release appeal for my Adam and it's a deal, sister dear." Fluttershy nodded. Pinkie Pie held out a finger V for victory. Pinkie Pie wins. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.